Hey, Sama, are you just sitting around and playing with your computer? It's an easy job and you're a good loser. Suddenly, I was shouting. I was just doing maintenance work on the in-car system as usual. And yet, for some reason, Section Chief Takahashi targeted me and took out his frustration on me. You're just sitting in a comfortable chair while I'm outside talking. His words were a joke, but his eyes were serious. I just stared calmly at the screen and didn't reply, but deep down I was starting to quietly make up my mind. This is about to reach my limit. My name is Ya, and I'm in my early 30s. I'm currently employed at the headquarters of a world-renowned global IT company. I spent my high school years in Japan, and after graduating, I went to university overseas on my own. I chose a university known for its prestigious information engineering department. The reason was simple. I wanted to experience authentic IT technology. I wanted to study at the forefront of the world. That was all. At university, I absorbed knowledge on everything from hardware to security, network design, and basic AI theory. After completing countless projects and experiencing many sleepless nights, I joined my current company immediately after graduating. Things went quickly from there. Within a few years of joining the company, I was promoted to head of the System Security Department, which plays a central role within the head office, and was entrusted with overseeing the infrastructure and security of each company in North America, Europe, and Asia. Then, a few years ago, I received a request from the upper management of the head office. The IT system in Japan is in serious trouble. We want you to fix it. That was the order. Apparently, the Japanese had not been able to keep up with the development of their internal systems due to their past growth, and the security vulnerabilities, lack of in-vehicle networks, and the preservation of analog management had reached a level that even the head office could not ignore. While still affiliated with the head office, I was temporarily dispatched to Japan, and for the first time in over 10 years, I set foot on the soil of my homeland. The tasks I was given were to redesign the in-vehicle network, rebuild the cloud environment, improve security, and even modernize the IT infrastructure of the entire company. It was a heavy burden for me to handle all of it by myself, but strangely enough, I felt no pressure. Rather, I felt a sense of relief in the nostalgic Japanese lifestyle and the days when I could immerse myself in my work quietly and silently. The sushi, the hot springs, and the smell of the bookstore were all somehow pleasant, and for a while I was able to spend my time in peace. However, there was one person who had been bothering me ever since I came to Japan. He was a man named Takanaki, the sales manager. He was the type who always defended himself by saying things like, "The field comes first," and "Numbers are justice," and he would come to my desk every day and always say the same thing. He was just fiddling with the computer again. It was an easy job. He got paid just for joining mid-career and sitting at his desk. It seemed like he thought of me as nothing more than a golfer who had drifted in from somewhere. He didn't seem to know at all that I was a temporary employee from the head office or that I was in charge of the entire system. At first, I didn't care. I thought I would find out when I saw the results. But as time went on, Taka's words and actions gradually became more malicious. And maybe it was time for me to change my attitude of silently proving myself through my work. That's what I was starting to feel. One day, a tense atmosphere filled the car in the afternoon. Takana returned to the floor with a clearly displeased look on his face. According to the schedule, he was supposed to have an external consultation this morning. The outcome was obvious. While the other employees looked away and looked the other way, only Takana's footsteps echoed in the night. And as expected, his anger was directed at me. "Hey, sir, you're a good trash. While I'm sweating and discussing, you're just playing around on your computer in an air-conditioned room?" His voice echoed throughout the car. Several employees turned to look at him, but no one tried to stop him. I answered calmly, without taking my eyes off the display. I'm on duty. That seemed to add fuel to the fire. Takana's face turned redder and redder. I'm on duty. What you're doing is no different from playing around. You don't even produce any numbers, and you don't go out to sales. You're just playing around on your computer, acting all high and mighty. I didn't say anything. I just thought, oh, here we go again, and got the words out of my mouth to feel better. I thought I could just endure it like usual and get out of here. But that day was different. Takana raised her voice even more and turned on the blade of her words. A useless bastard like you should just disappear. No, if you don't leave on your own, I'll make you leave. That was right after I shouted that. Takana slammed the paper cup she was holding into my laptop with all her might. The unpleasant sound of a carriage. And then a brown line ran across the LCD. A few seconds later, with a popping sound, the screen went black. It had shorted out. It was a special laptop worth millions. It was the terminal that was used to connect to the head office and manage the server in the tea room. This was unforgivable. Takana silently walked away, but I stood up quietly as I watched her walk away. I had no intention of arguing back or yelling at her. There was just one thing I had decided in my heart. This was the end of my time working at the Japanese death office. I had already memorized the necessary steps. I've been patient ever since I came to this country. But they've destroyed the headquarters, assets, and even insulted my work. There was no reason to keep quiet and endure it now. I slowly began to organize my desk. I tied up all the notes, USBs, and ID cards in the drawers one by one. The employees in charge seemed to realize what had happened, but pretended not to. But that very silence showed the limitations of this space. I stood up and left the room in silence. My destination wasn't the airport. First, I had to report to the headquarters. I contacted the headquarters that day. Given the circumstances, there was no time to hesitate. I returned to the headquarters the next day, met with my immediate manager, and submitted a detailed report. The contents were everything I had done with Takana. Daily insults, 5 people in high positions, pointless interference with business, and the destruction of property. The destroyed PC wasn't just a work terminal. It was a confidential terminal equipped with functions to monitor the in-car network, control external access, and even a system environment under development. Since it was destroyed in a one-sided market, this could not be dismissed as a personal emotional dispute. The upper management at the head office immediately launched an emergency meeting. A few hours later, I received clear instructions. Japan would be hidden from the public from an important base. This would revoke all special operational authority and infrastructure independence that Japan had held. The system security environment would be returned to direct control of the head office. And the transition work was carried out immediately by me. I remotely accessed all of the Japanese network from the head office and remotely removed the operations and security infrastructure that I had identified one after another. The unique firewall was disabled, and the Access Authority authentication server was blocked. The recent work reporting system was also stopped. The next morning, complete chaos had broken out at the Japan office. PCs that could not be logged in-car tools that could no longer be used. The automated gym flow had also stopped, and voices of confusion were heard among the employees. What is this? Is the system down? All the shared folders have disappeared, and we can't access the server. What is going on? The site was in a state of panic. No one understood the situation, and all that was there was the reality that everything in daily life had suddenly stopped. And in the midst of the chaos, an official notice arrived from the head office to the chief of the deceased. The notice stated that the deceased had been downgraded from a major deceased to a regular deceased based on the report, including the continued obstruction of business by the city, the destruction of assets on board, and the decision to downgrade the deceased from a major deceased to a regular deceased based on the report. The chief of the deceased's office turned pale as soon as he finished reading the notice. A few seconds later, he slammed the document down on the desk and stood up, shaking his fist. Why? Why did this happen? Anger and despair crossed over at the fact that the title of major deceased, the culmination of years of hard work and trust, had been stripped away overnight. And with that, the chief of the deceased yelled angrily and headed straight for the sales floor. It didn't matter to his subordinates or colleagues, he headed straight for Takana with such force that it seemed like he was about to explode. "Hey, Takana, you!" The sound echoed throughout the car, and everyone on the floor gasped and was speechless. And in the center of it all was Takana, who was finally beginning to realize the gravity of what he had done. President Kano's sound shook the entire floor. As the air in the sales room froze, Takana stopped organizing his documents and slowly raised his head. "Takana, do you know what you've done?" His eyes, which had been frozen in time, were fixed on one point. Takana replied with a look of confusion on his face. "What's wrong, Chief of the Dead? Did you know?"
What kind of position that man, demon,
holds when you did that? The atmosphere changed in that moment. Takana's face fell down in an instant. No, he's a mid-career engineer, that's not it. The sound of his fist banging on the desk resounded as a dry thud. None of the employees had even held their breath. Sakuma-san is an important employee who was dispatched directly from the head office. The head office has also been informed that you poured coffee on the PC. What you did was not just a hindrance to business, it was an act that destroyed the very foundation of the company. Because of that, the head office has removed Nihon Shisha from their priority list. From now on, the system, support, and everything else will stop. The number of employees will also be reduced. Sales and credibility plummet. Wait a minute. I really didn't know. Didn't know? Do you think that excuse would work? Then why did you yell at someone who was working? Why did you break it? Taka was completely speechless. His face was pale and his lips were trembling, but he tried to say something, but no sound came out. It's all your fault. This death is over because of your rude actions. Those words pierced Taka's chest heavily. He no longer seemed to feel the gazes of the employees around him. Taka just stood there, muttering as if nothing had happened. What should I do? What should I do? No one answered his trembling voice. After several minutes or even 10 minutes had passed, he finally started to move. He returned to his desk and timidly picked up his smartphone. He hesitated, his mouth twisted, and after staring at the screen several times, he turned off his stomach and pressed the call button. My smartphone vibrated quietly beyond the ringtone. I checked the name that appeared on the screen and answered silently. I'm sorry. Kaiko's faintest voice reached my ears. It was hard to believe that he was such an arrogant man. I never dreamed that you were in such an important position. You're really just a temporary errand boy, I replied calmly, still holding my terminal in one hand. I should have been notified when I arrived that I was dispatched from the head office. Huh, a notification? It was shared with everyone via email, and I myself gave a speech at the general meeting on my first day of training. There was a moment of silence. What followed was a rambling excuse. I'm sorry. I really didn't pay attention. But now I realize how foolish I was. Please forgive me. If I keep this up, I might get fired. It's only natural that you're angry. But please help me. I chose my words calmly. As if flipping a switch, I said coldly and indifferently, "Notice that you not only insulted my work, but you also physically destroyed our equipment, which is also the head office's property." Damaging personal property is a serious crime. You can't just say you didn't mean to. At a loss for words, Takao's breathing was shaky. A faint growl could be heard through the phone. I'm reflecting on my actions. Please help me. None of the intimidating force that once filled his voice remained. But I was unmoved. It was all my own fault. Still, Takana refused to hang up. Her trembling voice continued to speak as if pleading. I know you can't forgive me. But please at least save the Japanese who died. If things continue as they are, it really wasn't my decision. It was the official decision of the head office's upper management to remove the Japanese from the key base. So isn't it the end? What should I do? Her voice was already on the verge of breaking down in tears. But I answered calmly, without showing any emotion. There's nothing I can do. But the employees are also in trouble. Work is not going well and everyone is in chaos. I'm begging you to do this to protect the future. Please. Your actions have destroyed everything. The system I built and the trust of the dead have all collapsed because of your arrogance. That's not what I meant. It wasn't my intention, it was the result. Your words and actions triggered everything. I could hear Takana's voice trembling over the phone. Even the smallest sounds of his breathing were irregular and filled with fear. Please. Even if it's a long shot, can you at least pass on the opportunity to negotiate to the head office? In the silence, I closed my eyes once and answered quietly. His tone was completely calm, leaving no room for mercy. I am not your spokesperson. And I have no reason or obligation to act on your behalf. There is absolutely no benefit to me in creating a negotiating opportunity or conveying your request to my superiors. I have no intention of taking any action that would benefit you. Before you try to evade responsibility, face your sins head on. Those words were everything. I no longer had any regrets. A suppressed apology leaked from the other end of the phone for a while, and then a scream that pierced my ears echoed. I thought I heard the sound of something collapsing on the other side of the voice. But I showed no reaction to it and quietly ended the call. After hanging up, I stared at my smartphone for a while. No words came out. The only thing that remained quietly in his mind was the fact that one thing had come to an end. After that, Takanori was officially dismissed from the chief executive and transferred to the management department of a regional warehouse. I heard that at his new workplace, he was left with only his old title, and that no one trusted him and no one spoke to him. The air in the car was cold. The man who had destroyed the headquarters' assets, the chief executive himself who had almost destroyed the deceased, he continued to be stared at like that every day. Eventually, unable to bear those stares, Takanori submitted his resignation. What awaited him after leaving the company he had worked for several years was the collapse of his family. His wife packed up her belongings and took the children with her to return to her parents' home, and Takanori became a recluse in a rented apartment in Tokyo. The chief executive bowed his head to the head office many times. He continued to send official apologies, recovery plans, and plans to prevent recurrence, but he was never allowed to upgrade his status to a critical role again. The budget was cut, personnel were streamlined, and each department was plagued by chronic workload. It seems that the recovery of the system I had been developing will take several months due to a lack of specialized knowledge. Now I'm back to my regular duties at the head office. My daily tasks pile up, but somewhere in my heart I still remember those few years. Technology is meaningless if you just have it. It only functions as a power when it is properly evaluated and treated correctly. The PC that was broken that day and the hard work I had put in were certainly lost, but there was something more I saw there. I never want to be someone who looks down on someone else's hard work out of ignorance and prejudice. I told myself this quietly as I put my fingers back on the keyboard. Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing to the channel. See you in the next video.